I'm Tony Ruiz of Gold Derby here with Jelani Alladin, who stars as Marcus on Fellow Travelers. And Jelani, there was something that I read that
Hmm.
really caught my eye. In an interview, you said that you don't want this show to so much as teach, but to reveal. And
Mm.
and I'm curious as to if there were specific things or aspects of the show that you thought were particularly revealing that you kind of, clued into.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think sometimes when we have shows that deal with truths of our nation's history, particularly around racism, we tend to want to lean the audience to an understanding of this is how you be better, right? When I felt like Ron Niceweiner, who's also the showrunner and creator of Fellow Travelers, when we had many conversations, we wanted to pull out the nuance of the experience, and we wanted to reveal microaggressions that we felt kind of just provided examples of the small moments that you don't catch, the small moments that we don't understand, the small moments that go unspoken. And it wasn't our job to put judgment on that, whether they were good or bad, but just to simply present them to an audience. Um, and hopefully an audience watches and makes their own assessments of have they done that in their lives? Have they done that to somebody, or have they been a victim of that, or how can they work through that with somebody? All of it comes out of love. And I think at the end of the day, you can't teach love, you can only experience it.
And yet with a character like Marcus,
Hmm.
he is not just one thing. And I think that's what's
No,
so great about so many
no.
of the characters. And I love the way that there is kind of like this dichotomy in him between, like, he's an outwardly presenting masculine man
Hmm.
who also likes sex with men,
That's
but
right.
but walks this line between calling himself gay and just calling himself someone who likes to fuck other men.
We love labels in America. And I think sometimes we forget that the human experience is so vast and so wide that sometimes there are no labels, and that everyone is, essentially drag. Everyone is presenting in drag. We are choosing how we want to present to this world, and it may not have a definitive box we put in. I mean, Marcus represents a man unlike, honestly, unlike any that I've ever seen on television. Somebody who is, a black queer man that comes to defiantly own himself and in the midst of that, he's able to love others and create family and um, you know, he quite literally ends up living. He's not he's not selling drugs, he's not incarcerated, he's not dying of AIDS, he's not living and holding based on his trauma. He's actually trying to heal the entire time. And that's something I've never seen on television, and I'm glad that I got to be the vessel for this characterization.
And at the same time, it's a very it's not a, for lack of a better term, straight trajectory. There's lots of
No,
ebbs
no,
and flows in his
no.
journey. What aspects of his journey did you specifically connect to?
I connected to feeling like there's no one able to understand you, feeling kind of this loneliness. I did connect to that. I think communities are contemporary. If we're being very honest, like being able to access multiple people through your cell phone is a very contemporary thing. And, Marcus didn't have communities. He didn't have a black and queer community. He didn't have much of either, and so for me, the part that I connected to was that feeling of like, what box do I check on the SAT test? What box do I check when I go to the doctor and I see certain things? I think he doesn't fit into that. He's other. And so I really connected to that.
He's very there's moments in the show where he either experiences traumatic incidents or
Hmm.
sometimes has to say these kind of what we would now in our contemporary world think, oh my god, how can he say that?
Mm,
How did you approach those particular scenes, because they ask a lot of you?
they do. And you just kind of have to jump in and dive and trust that you have done the research, and that you have done the lived experiences. I mean, I was drawing from my own experience as a black man in America. And I think you know, sometimes people misdirect that as like, oh, he wasn't acting. And it's like, actually, no, I was really stepping into the specificity of these time periods and the limitations on these time periods. But you kind of just open up your heart and you pour it out. And you hope that your scene partner, that the writers, that the director sees all of that and accepts that and is able to bring love back to you at the end of the day. You know, I told Ron, I was like, are you gonna pay for my therapy bills after this project? I was like, I'm over here getting beat up by the police and the white boys are having orgies in Fire Island. Like, that's not fair. You know, I want to have the fun too. It all is meant to give voice and representation to somebody who I hope watches this show who's never seen themselves on television before. And I hope they feel like, that's my life. That's me. He did that. Um, and so I'm just very proud. I'm very proud, as you can tell.
Well, and I asked this of Jonathan Bailey as well, and
Mm,
because you all get to do something that I think, especially for folks in the queer community, we would kind of wish we could do, which
mm,
is go back in time and live this period of history and
mm.
see it from a fresh perspective. I feel like there's a
Right.
certain historical necessity to this show.
There is. I think we're so quick to be like, it's 2024, like get over yourself, or like it's 2024, be who you want to be. And we don't actually understand the privileges that come along with being able to be who you want to be and who gets to actually have those privileges. I
And
know
how
for
tenuous it is
That's right.
even
That's
now.
right. That's right. That's right. For me personally, I will say that, in the queer community, we have this term called DL. And it's like we're so quick to pass judgment on men who are DL, who can't actually be who they want to be, who can't love, who love in secret. Going back and doing this show, I'm like, I have empathy for them. I understand how deeply fearful it is to exist in their bodies. And so I actually have mad respect for them. Things like that I've come to now bring into my real life. You think about HIV and the stigma around people who are positive. Marcus has this incredible scene where he gets to actually show Jerome, who reveals to him that he's positive, that he is still loved, that he is still something special, that he has life, his life is still worthwhile. And in my life, I'm carrying that over to the people who I meet who are positive and friends who I'm like, you are just as special and amazing and should be celebrated and should celebrate yourself as equally as anybody else. And so there's a lot to learn here. Even though we're not trying to teach, there's a lot to learn.
And isn't that always the best kind of learning is when it's not being, you're not being beaten over the head with it.
That's right, and it's entertaining. I mean, come on, who can say that that men rolling around isn't entertaining? It's entertaining to me.
Well, yeah, and at the same time though, I let's see if you agree with me on this.
Mm,
I can't wait till we get to the point where the depiction of sex,
yeah,
it is not talked about in a queer sensibility as it is
absolutely.
just a love story sensibility.
Absolutely. I mean, like one of the talkbacks that we did, somebody asked, so what was it like to knowing that you were going to give these queer sex scenes to the world? And I was like, would you ask that question if it was a straight movie? You wouldn't. You actually wouldn't think twice. You'll be here smoking your cigarette, just kind of chilling, like next, and I feel like somebody's got to be the first one. Somebody's got to be the one to kind of push the envelope, and I think Fellow Travelers has done that. And I hope going forward, it just creates ease for everything that comes after.
I've spoken to both Anastasia and Joseph, the production and costume
Mm,
designer, and uh, with
who did
everybody.
fantastic? Who did fantastic work?
Well, and I think what was so amazing about this big chunk of history
Hmm.
is just how authentic it all seems, how detailed and how perfect.
Mhm.
And I've got to imagine that that is a help to you from a performance aspect.
Oh yeah, you put on that sexy 70s leather jacket. You put on, that you get into step into that 1950s smoky bar, where everything feels like it's antique, just like dripping money. your job becomes so much easier because you're just like, I believe I'm in this world. And then my only job now is to tell the story. I think Joseph and Anastasia and everyone involved, Jordan who did our makeup and Michelle Cote who did the hair. I mean, every detail was so specifically crafted to make sure that the actors stepped onto set and all they had to do was tell the story. They didn't have to do anything extra. In fact, most of the time we got to do less because everything else was doing so much more.
There was a there's a moment um, where you and Noah Ricketts, uh,
Hmm.
you guys have such a clear chemistry, and I know that you both you both were on Frozen, playing the same
Hmm.
role at different times, and
Hmm.
but you both come from the stage, and I'm curious that sense of community that the theater community certainly has. Did
Mm.
that kind of aid in the relationship that you two were able to create on screen?
From the moment we had our chemistry test, um,
Which is kind of funny, the fact that you two need to have a chemistry
well,
test.
here's the actual funny story. Our agents both texted us separately the night before saying, "Hey, you're going to be doing chemistry read with Jelani," or "Hey, you're going to be doing chemistry read with Noah," and we didn't text each other. In fact, my response was, I'm not gonna text him. Like, whatever. Like, I'll see him tomorrow. Like, very, very cool. And so we get onto the Zoom, and all of a sudden Noah starts making like a crack at me because I love gravy. It's my thing. I love sauce. When I order my food, particularly when I was doing Frozen, I ordered from this Colombian place, and I would ask them to put extra gravy on my chicken, like every single day. And so Noah jumps on, he's like, "Oh, you want some extra gravy with that?" And I just started losing my mind laughing. And then everyone's like, are we missing something? Is something going on? And I'm like, I know this player. I know this man for years. Let's just get on with this. Can we just get this over with? And it was so easy and fun and loving and flowing. And we brought that energy to everything we did on set because we knew that we were kind of holding each other through this process to be like, I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. There's not enough research. There's not enough, examples of these characters throughout history. We're making this, inventing this as we go. So we really had to hold each other's hands.
Um, so with you were just saying how there's not enough research. Was Ron in many ways like, because this is such a passion project for Ron,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and and so was he in many ways like a great go-to uh,
Great.
for
He
going
was
straight to creative?
extraordinary. He was extraordinary. He had the answer to every single thing. Even when he thought he didn't have the answer, he did actually have the answer. And I think there was one point throughout the process where he kept on apologizing to me, saying, "Oh, like I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Finally, I said, "Ron, stop saying sorry. Stop it. You're doing excellent. You are providing the compass for all of us, and particularly for me in this journey. And you seem to have a clear understanding of what you are trying to say. And that makes my job 10 times easier." Um, so I bless Ron for everything that he's given to us and everything that he's given to the world with this project.
So in this transition, because you come from the stage, because
Yeah.
you're a theater animal,
Hmm.
and
Was.
so
Was. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I want to get back there someday, but we'll see. I want my Marvel movie first or my Star Wars TV show first.
well, and that's actually where I was going with this
Hmm.
is that at what point did you decide that you wanted to kind of make that jump
Yeah.
from theater to screen acting?
I know exactly the moment. It was the last night I did Hercules, which I played Hercules. And I was in the Delacorte Theater at the Public Theater, in Shakespeare in the Park, and everyone had left. And I stood in the middle of the stage and I wept because I knew that this was the pinnacle of what I wanted to achieve in musical theater, and it was time to try something new. And so I said, I want to dive into film and TV. I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know for a fact that my job here is done and my new journey with that must begin. And I was just grateful to, by the miracles of the heavens, land a job with The Walking Dead, World Beyond, where I did 2 seasons of that, and I got to really get my feet wet and inside of like the language of what a set even operates like. And then to have that followed by Fellow Travelers, followed up with Fellow Travelers is just a huge blessing. So
So,
I'm just beginning. I'm just getting started. All right. I got a lot of work to do, a lot of things I want to say. So I'm just getting started.
so you mentioned like a Marvel movie, but is there a role that like the young you, I feel like with especially with Fellow Travelers, this is a show that I
Mm,
wish I had seen as a young gay kid coming
mm,
up. And
hmm.
I'm curious if there's a role that uh, that's out there somewhere that the young you would have really just like wanted to see.
Absolutely. I told Tony, myself that I want to play Jason Bourne, that I'm ready to play Jason Bourne. It is the thing that I saw when I was younger that I said, now that's interesting. That's something I've never seen before. It's a superhero, but not a superhero, but also like a villain, but not a villain. The complexities within that character and the identity of that is really fascinating. So if there's ever a Jason Bourne reboot or an expansion of the universe, sign me up.
Oh God, my muscles or lack thereof hurt just thinking about the training that you're going to have to do for that.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the stunts. Now, I don't know if we could do it in Europe though, because the doors in Europe are so small and I'm 6 feet tall, so it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to navigate.
Oh, come on. It's the big Hollywood studio. They'll just build a new door.
That's true. That's true.
Jelani, congratulations.
Thank you.
A real pleasure. Everybody go to goldderby.com, make your predictions for the upcoming award season, and stay tuned for interviews with more contenders in the coming weeks. Jelani Alladin, really great to talk to you. Thank you.
No, thank you, Tony.